Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It's Mike Brown here with Remax in Toronto. On a cold and blustery Tuesday morning, I thought I was going to make it through this winter without having to bust out the snow shovel, but we all know that didn't occur. Been kind of a slow news couple of weeks for real estate, interest rates, Bank of Canada information, so to speak. There was a major announcement from Bell Canada, pretty significant layoff by Bell. Is that starting to indicate that, yes, we're actually falling closer into that recessive area in an economy where layoffs are becoming more prevalent? Not really sure, but that's somewhat notable. For the purpose of today's episode, I thought it would be kind of a good idea to take sort of a deeper dive into the numbers and look at some of the historical information to try and get an idea of just exactly where we might be heading. What am I seeing in these numbers? Well, first off, I started the channel on June 1st of 2023, and I've always tracked the inventory levels in the city of Toronto because I've lived here most of my adult life and the bulk of my clients live in the city of Toronto. But for the purpose of the channel, I thought it'd be beneficial to add the additional 4 regions in the condominium and the rental information. So I don't have exact data for all those regions going back to this time last year, but I do for Toronto, and I can tell you that at this time last year, Toronto had about 850 to 900 homes on the market on any given day, whereas today we have about 1,400. So the market is obviously better supplied today than it was a year ago, to the tune of what, 45%? Pretty significant. And for that very reason, I don't think we're going to see the run up in positivity about buying a house here in the city as we did last year. My concern is really what's going to happen after the March break. When there's ever been a sort of immense shift in inventory, it generally takes place at that time of year. So I'm looking to see what happens after March break and the weather starts to turn more favorable and people become more optimistic because we're getting more daylight. Are we going to see a dramatic surge in inventory? So what in all of this data is going to give me some insight into what might be taking place? Well, I think it's safe to say that we should start at the bottom, and the bottom is probably the rental market, the people who are either currently saving to buy their first property or for whatever reason have given up on home ownership. What's happening in that segment of the market? Again, I don't have a mass of historical data on it, but I can tell you this much, that since I started tracking the freehold and condominium available rentals in the city of Toronto, that inventory level from pretty much the 1st of June has more than doubled, and it continues to rise gradually each and every week. Now, does this mean that there is becoming a more competitive element on behalf of landlords, investors in obtaining the tenants that are out there, or is all this added availability being consumed on a regular basis? I think it's going to take a little bit more time to figure that out. But if in fact there is some looming crisis and that rental affordability is going to start to do that, actually become more affordable, you're going to see more of these would-be investors getting out of the market, and that's where I think it all starts. And it brings me to my final point. I had a conversation a couple months ago with a gentleman who is in charge of acquisitions for a large condominium developer here in the city of Toronto. They have interest in one of my clients' properties that is in a neighborhood that's prime for high-rise residential redevelopment, close to a subway station. And they've been pursuing these properties, the whole area, all the owners, for some time now. And things sort of broke off toward the end of November, and he kept reiterating that real estate is a lagging indicator. Real estate is one of the last things to show any significant retraction when an economy goes from robust to recession. Obviously, he's self-motivated. His job is to acquire land for the most reasonable price that he can, but there may be some truth to that. So I sort of feel 2024, if there's going to be any pullback in prices, any move to the affordability side, barring any dramatic change in interest rates from the Bank of Canada, policy rate, what have you, fixed rate mortgages, bond yields, I think it takes place this year. If it doesn't take place this year, it's probably unlikely it's going to happen because we all know that sooner or later the Bank of Canada is going to start to pull that rate down. And we all know what that signals for most realtors. Great time to buy. Way more affordable. Upward pressure on prices? Perhaps. Anyhow, that's my 2 cents worth for this episode. Really not that much happening as far as the numbers, so let's get a look at that rather quiet inventory story for now. As always, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you're getting some value out of these videos. If you are, share it, pass it along. And until the next episode, this is Mike Brown with Remax, uncovering the real state of real estate here in the GTA and Southwestern Ontario.